Hello student, introduction to the study of homeopathy. In this lecture, we previously learned the very form and natural law of cure. In previous lecture also, we learned how or where the limitation of homeopathy, specifically in case of emergency, whenever there is a suspended animation, which Hahnemann introduced in aphorism number 67. And in case of suspended animation, when the life of the patient is in danger and imminent death is there, and which allow no time for the action of the homeopathic remedy. And in this case, you can apply the antipathic mode of treatment. Why? H. Robert quoted that even in emergencies, if this homeopathic medicine applied by a very skillful homeopath, then in such condition also homeopathy remedy act very speedily and very miraculous way, the almost miraculous speed and with the happiest result. Is in the emergency condition also, where in footnote of 67 Hahnemann explained the suspended animation, where there is a very limited role of homeopathic medicine, as the no time is available for the selection of remedy, as well as the after administration of remedy, homeopathic remedy, the primary action of the remedy, that is producing the artificial similar disease, and then there is a cure established. This time is required for this process is very much less, because the life of the patient is in a danger, and therefore he advised directly apply the antipathic mode of treatment. While H. Robert asserts that whenever homeopathy is in a skillful hands and we apply this homeopathic medicine in such emergency condition also, this resulted into miraculous way, isn't it? Then because he asserted that homeopathy has been developed through the inductive method of reasoning. Yes, homeopathy is a product of inductive method of reasoning. And how this inductive method, or what do you mean by this inductive logic? According to the Funk and Wagnall dictionary, defines inductive reasoning as follows. That means the inductive method of reasoning is the scientific method that proceeds by induction, and therefore homeopathy is also the scientific method which developed through the induction. This inductive logic required exact observation, correct interpretation, rational explanation, and scientific construction. Then let us examine the earliest steps taken by Hahnemann in his development of scientific approach towards the healing of the sick through the reasonable application of the natural laws. Yes, here when the whole medical or the whole medicines during the days of Dr. Hahnemann, the whole medical world is in a state of confusion, and the plethora of the theories are developed there, and but all these medicines, the application of the medicine is totally very empirical way. There is no scientific basis, and in that particular situation, Hahnemann tried to develop the scientific approach towards the healing of the sick. Yes, and this scientific approach only developed by the inductive logic. Whenever it is fulfilled, whenever any hypothesis fulfill all these four conditions of the inductive logic, then it would be established as a truth, isn't it? It will be established as a principle, and therefore this application of the natural law Hahnemann, how the homeopathy is a product of inductive logic, because it fulfills all criteria which are recommended for the inductive logic, isn't it? Let us take the next paragraph. His childhood training in logical thinking crystallized his keen mind and made him peculiarly fitted for the task he assumed. In other words, he was early trained in inductive reasoning, and he was able to scientifically construct hitherto unknown principles in the case of the sick. Yes, you know, man is the product of his heredity and upbringing, and also of his time and environment. In when we studied the life history of Dr. Hahnemann, you know that Hahnemann's father and mother were obliged to undertake their boy's early education. They taught him how to read and write while playing. They had brought up their children on the principle of Rousseau, which at that time was widely circulated among all the cultured people of Europe. Whatever the principle of Rousseau, that is, never to learn or listen passively. Yes, never to learn or listen passively, that means apply your rational mind and never accept the things as it is told by the other person, but you should learn these, you should have a knowledge whether these never passively, but you should be active thinking, and therefore that has indeed the leading educational ideas of that revival period. His father had found for himself the soundest conception of that which is good and can be called worthy of man. These ideas he implanted on little Samuel. And the second important principle taught by his father, that to act and live without pretense or show, was his most noteworthy precept, which impressed Samuel more by his example than his words. And by these two principles in his which are implanted on his life, he can differentiate between good and what is right and wrong, and what is right and wrong in the very fine degree of correctness. This practical delicacy of feeling as was highly creditable to him. In this also he was Hahnemann's teacher, and therefore these two principles, that is never to learn or listen passively, and to act and to live without pretense and show, these two teachings by his father make the foundation of Hahnemann's moral training. And in this way the very concrete foundation he obtained from his parents, you can say. And here H. Robert asserted that his childhood training in logical thinking crystallized his keen mind. Crystallized means it is a form, it fixed. His whatever is the teaching, it become crystallized, means it become fixed. That means he always thought accordingly. His keen mind and made him peculiarly fitted for the task of he assumed. And whenever he worked or whenever he practiced, he used his rational mind, and therefore whenever he observed that this prevailing system of medicine is totally futile, he left his practice. And while translating work also, he apply his logical mind. in whether he translate the chemistry work or whether he translate the Cullen's Materia Medica, and this helpful for his task whatever he done, isn't it? In other words, he was early trained in inductive reasoning, and he was able to scientifically construct hitherto unknown principles in the case of the sick. First, let us take the how the homeopathy is a product of inductive logic. The first criteria is the exact observation. What is the exact observation done by Hahnemann? Hahnemann's honest disappointment with the practice of medicine as manifested in the 18th century was the direct result of his faculties of the observation and reasoning. His early training demanded of him that he find logical reasons for the administration of medicinal substances, and that once given, favorable results were to be expected. Yes, as the suffering humanity visited to the physician with the desire that he would be free from the suffering, while during the days of Dr. Hahnemann, whatever is the medicine substance administered to the sick humanity, which add fuel in fire, it never treat the patient, but whatever is a very cruel system of or barbarous method of treatment like bloodletting and application of cantheris or application of hot iron rod, or all these methods increase the suffering of the humanity in spite of the healing of them, isn't it? And which disturb Hahnemann most, and therefore whatever is a favorable result he expected from the administration of the medicinal substance, there is a totally lack of this removal of the symptom or the cure. The chaotic prescription of that day left little reasonable ground for clear-cut result. This chaotic means it is totally confusing. It is not a fixed way, which is not based on a fixed principle. Sometimes there is an application of medicine according to the antipathic mode of treatment. Sometimes there is a medicine considered the theory of for humor, and in that way every physician develop their own theory for the prescription, and therefore it is a very chaotic environment during the days of Dr. Hahnemann. And this chaotic prescription, very confused prescription of that day, left little reasonable ground for clear-cut result, and therefore the clear-cut result, that is a pure cure, is not possible. And his observation of the frequent failure of the physician to help sick patient towards cure, or worse still, the rapid decline of the patient, is seemingly simple and uncomplicated cases under the best medical care procurable. Whenever the best treatment is provided for the patient, the uncomplicated cases become complicated because of this torturous and barbarous method of treatment like bloodletting specifically. And this led Hahnemann to renounce the practice of medicine, and therefore because of this unfavorable result from the application of medicine which add fuel in fire, which led Hahnemann to left his very lucrative or profitable medical practice. In turn to chemistry, the translation of medical literature as means of livelihood. Yes, every one of you know, for his bread and butter, he started the work of translation of medical classics and the work of chemistry of de Mattei. In one of these translations, an atom on the use of cinchona bark for intermittent fever arrested his attention, since he himself and recently suffered such a malady. Yes, what happened while in 1790, while translating Cullen's Materia Medica, a treatise on Cullen's Materia Medica, treatise of Cullen's Materia Medica from English to German, he arrested to the sentence that Peruvian bark cures ague fever. Every one of you know the history of discovery of homeopathy. Then whenever this explanation or whatever is the explanation given for the efficacy of the cinchona bark in the treatment of intermittent fever, that is Peruvian bark cure ague fever. Ague fever means malarial fever or intermittent fever, and therefore he was very much dissatisfied with the explanation given by Cullen in the footnote. Cullen asserts that in order to, or the by virtue of the bitterness and tonic effect of the cinchona bark on the stomach, cinchona bark cure the ague fever or cure the malarial fever or cure the intermittent fever. And he thought that, there are n number of bitter substances are there, n number of medicines are there which had the tonic effect on stomach, but none of them have a ability to cure the intermittent fever. Then he thought that why only cinchona bark, and therefore he desired to experiment. And as before this Cullen's Materia Medica, he translated the Pharmacopoeia by Albert von Haller, and in this book of Albert von Haller, he emphasized on the drug proving, that is the test of the drug substances on healthy human being. And therefore, by influencing this Albert von Haller's assertion, he desired to, or he decided to prove the action of the cinchona bark on himself, as he was the healthy person. And what happened is, interest was aroused and his experiments with medicinal substance, which later called proving, were begun. Yes, at this stage the first experiment of the drug proving had started. He decided to prove the cinchona bark on himself, and therefore he make a decoction of this Peruvian bark and take 4 grams of this decoction twice a day. And on the 7th day he was very much surprised that he suffering from the same symptom than that of the malarial symptom, because fortunately or unfortunately, you can say, before 6 years he himself suffered from the malaria, and therefore he very well acquainted with the symptom of malaria, how the disease is, or the whatever the primary preclinical symptom and the clinical symptom of the malaria. And therefore whenever there is the stage of chill, and which is now, and after this stage of chill, it is followed by the stage of stage of heat, he very definitely he concluded that yes, these are the symptom of malaria, isn't it? And from that phenomena of producing this malarial like symptom in healthy human being, after the administration of the cinchona bark, he thought that it might be the action of the cinchona bark on healthy human being, isn't it? And since then, here he first caught the gleam of light that led him to an understanding of the reasonable application of the remedy. Yes, from this experiment he caught the gleam of light. Gleam of light means he nearly think about the, by virtue of the symptom similarity, the malarial fever might be cured in whenever it administered to the sick individual. This gleam of light led him to perform various other experiments on himself also, and his family member and his friend. And he also experimented not only with the cinchona bark, but various other drug substances which are used during his days. These are all experimented on himself, or make a drug proving on himself. And here he first caught the gleam of light that led him to an understanding of the reasonable application of remedies. And then he, from the from this various experimentation with various other drugs, he concluded that by virtue of the producing the symptom in healthy human being, this pathogenetic action of the medicine is the curative power, isn't it, when it is applied according to the symptom similarity. So by virtue of the symptom similarity, any drug substance has a capacity to remove the same group of symptom or similar group of symptom from the sick individual, isn't it? And it is a exact observation which is done by Dr. Hahnemann, and it is very important that his keen and very keen observation and very intelligent explanation of the phenomena what occurred after the experimentation of the cinchona bark. This exact observation of the ability of the drug to produce symptom on the other one hand and the symptoms of the patient on the other. This problem he simplified to the logical basis. Then second is a correct interpretation. The second criteria of the inductive logic is a correct interpretation. How it is applicable in homeopathy? The correct interpretation of the phenomena produced by the experiments or proving was provided by close study of series of these experiments on group of people. Thus, the probability of error was reduced through the accumulation or more data with increasingly exact observation not only of results produced but of possible interposing condition which varied the result. Yes, this correct interpretation is that after proving a various other drug substances on group of people, he construct the proving association and he proved a drug on various people of various constitution, thus reduce the probability of error. And this probability of error means the if a person produce a number of symptom, a group of symptom, then another person also have another person of a different constitution, they have a ability to produce the another group of symptom. And in toto, whenever we collect all these symptoms from different constitution and both sexes in different age group, the correct picture of that particular drug substance is developed or emerged, and it is the sphere of action of the medicine we get in full-fledged, isn't it? And therefore possible interposing condition which varied the result, and the various other results obtained from the various other prover, we get the complete picture. And this, it is a correct interpretation that by virtue of the symptom similarity you can remove the group of symptom when we administer according to the law of similia. Then next criteria, Hahnemann was soon convinced that the rational explanation of the phenomena was the thought hinted at in the time of the ancient Hindu sages by Hippocrates, Paracelsus, Stahl and others throughout the course of medical history, that diseases are cured by medicines that have the power of excite a similar affection. Yes, after that he studied very deep that whether his thinking was correct or not. Whenever he observed the various other example in history of medicine, he found that the phenomena which he thought, that is the treatment of the disease with similar medicine, then he observed that this phenomena was hinted by the various other physicians before his days. For example, in ancient Hindu sages, that in Ayurveda also there is a principle of similia, samaha shamayati, by Hippocrates also. Hippocrates also hinted that the substance which create vomiters can cure the vomiting. Then Paracelsus also used these very toxic substances or poison from snake in a diluted form. Then Stahl and many other like Xenocrate, Paracelsus and Dethardin, the various other physicians throughout the course of medical history, they hinted that diseases are cured by medicines that have the power to excite a similar affection, excite the similar affection whenever it administered to the healthy human being, and because of the primary action they produce the whatever is the symptom produces, we are all collected, and after the collection of all these symptoms, whenever we select the medicine according to the law of symptom similarity, then definitely that disease is cured, and it is a rational explanation for the application of law of similia. While this thought had been applied occasionally, yes, this application of law of similia, this principle or this thought is not applied in all cases, while it is hinted only occasionally. Hahnemann was the first to insist on the importance of this premise in every case. Yes, Hahnemann was the first person who thought about that this law of similia can be applied for every case in order to cure the disease, where a true cure was achieved. As he was the first to test remedial substances and classify the result with this purpose in mind. Yes, therefore, as he thought that this principle which previously hinted by many other physicians, why not it is applied for each and every case in order to cure the case, because during his days whatever is the medicines used for the treatment point of view, these are all add fuel in fire and never cure the patient. But occasionally whenever or because all the medicines are used without any principle, and these were all used as used empirically. There is no definite principle behind the application of medicine. Therefore, Hahnemann thought that if or this principle, the law of similia, we can apply. We can apply for the generalized treatment of the cases, and therefore he gives the importance for the application, and in order to know the action of the medicine and the applicability of this medicine in various other cases, he started the drug proving, isn't it? He proved drug on himself, various other drugs he proved on himself and on his family member, on his friends and on his student also, and collect all symptoms which are developed during the experiment of drug proving, with the sole purpose that to know the pathogenetic action of the particular drug substance, which he decided to use according to the law of similia, isn't it? And therefore the result with his purpose of mind means he decided to use this pathogenetic power as a curative power of the medicine according to the law of similia. Then, and it is a foundation of homeopathy, isn't it? Because without proving you can't apply the medicine. You must have a knowledge of the pathogenetic action of the medicine beforehand, and therefore it is very scientific, isn't it? You are the experiment of the drug proving, whenever you perform this, every time it gives the same result. It is a true foundation, and thus true scientific construction is a very important criteria of the inductive logic. He applied the principles evolved from his inductive reasoning and the correlating experiments he had conducted. Briefly, then, we find that these experiments has led Hahnemann to give a medicinal substance to healthy persons, to carefully record the effect which were the production of symptoms of artificial disease for the purpose of making this substance available for people suffering from like symptoms in natural disease syndrome. Thus develop his thorough work in proving as we know it. Yes, the sole purpose of the experiment of drug proving is whatever is the symptoms produced by the by or after the administration of the drug substance, these are all artificial disease. Yes, this drug substance act on the human being as a stimulus, and because of the primary action of the medicine, the syndromes are developed, but it is artificial. His sole purpose is that by understanding or by knowing the action of the medicine on healthy human being, we can make the availability of that particular drug substance and use this drug substance whenever someone produce the same group of symptom in natural course of disease, isn't it? And with the sole purpose, he performed the work of experimentation of the drug proving. It is very tedious and laborious work. This painstaking work he performed and collect all the symptoms produced by various other prover during the course of drug proving. This hypothesis, a process of inductive reasoning, proved to be a triumph through a discovery of scientific principle based on the natural law. Yes, this hypothesis means his hypothesis that may the similar or the drug substance which has a capacity to produce the similar symptom can cure the same group of symptom in whenever it administered according to the law of similia in deceased person. This hypothesis, a process of inductive reasoning, is whenever the all criteria fulfilled by the homeopathic application proved to be a triumph. It is a victory. Yes, it is a victory or it is a success, you can say. It is a success. He get the success through the discovery of scientific principle based on natural law. This scientific principle, that is the drug proving, that every drug substance has its own capacity to produce certain group of symptom whenever it administered to the human being, and this quality of the drug substances we used according to the law of similia, and we are get success to remove the similar group of symptom from sick individual, which is based on natural law. Means the all these law of similia, law of simplex and law of minimum, all these natural law, these all fundamental principles are the natural law, and by the application of the natural law we are this hypothesis which he thought about that, it becomes true, and it is he get the success, he get the victory against the disease. Let us take the next paragraph. So, to the principles of inductive reasoning led Hahnemann through his observation of the effect of remedies administered on the basis of symptom similarity, to the gradual decrease of the dose because of the consequent drug effect as differentiated from the remedial effect of the substance administered. Yes, during the course of the application of the medicine according to the law of similia, he observed because of the primary action of medicine, or because of the crudeness and largeness of the doses, there is a aggravation of the symptom, which is followed by the amelioration of the symptom. In order to reduce this unnecessary unwanted aggravation of the symptom, he continuously decreased the dose, and the gradual decrease of the dose only with the sole purpose that to reduce the aggravating period, isn't it, and which is the consequent drug effect. Because of the crudeness and largeness of the doses, such type of unwanted aggravation of the symptoms was developed, and therefore he continuously reduced the dose. This decrease of the dose was developed according to a definitely scaled formula. Yes, only simply by the dilution he desired to reduce the dose, but he make some preparation with her, and he used a definite scale, isn't it? He used the centesimal scale, that is a 1 part of the medicinal substance and 99 part of the vehicle, whether it is alcohol or saccharum lactis, isn't it? And this decrease of the dose was developed according to a definitely scaled formula, and this in turn led to a discovery of the principle of potentiation or release of energy. Yes, there is only for the well mixing purpose he triturate these medicinal substances which are insoluble in water or alcohol, and this make the medicine, and this dilution with the saccharum lactis, and by this process of trituration he observed that the sphere of action of the medicine goes on increasing. While in case of soluble drug substances, for the mixing purpose, whenever he give the stroke to the particular medicine for the only the mixing purpose, the action or the sphere of action of the medicine goes on increasing, and this is the only the experiment which is start with the only dilution of and mixing of the drug. It developed the principle of potentization, isn't it, and or the release of energy. His potency means energy, and potentization is the process in which the hidden and latent energy which lies hidden in the crude drug substance, it get released, isn't it, and widen the sphere of action of the medicine. The penetration action or the penetration of the medicine is increased, as well as the quantity of the medicinal substance goes on decreasing, while the quality of the medicine goes on increasing. This discovery of the principle of potentization was Hahnemann's greatest gift to the science in general and medicine in particular. Yes, in order to reduce the quantity, and which leads to the increase in quality of the medicine, this greatest gift to the science in general, that means very small quantity of the medicinal substance is enough to remove the symptom or remove the disease from the human being. This is the greatest gift to the science, and nowadays you also know the nanoparticle. This whatever is a medicine we use or whatever medicine we potentize, this transfer into the nanoparticle, that is, it is less than the particle of atom also. Then during the process of potentization, whenever it reach to the certain scale or certain potency, you know the Avogadro number, not a single atom of the original drug substance remain behind in that particular medicine, isn't it? Still after that potency also we continuously potentize the medicine, like 30th potency, 200 potency, in which these are the sphere of action of this 30, 200, 1m, it is very much high, isn't it? It is very much widened, and the medicinal substance almost at the spiritual level. There is no single atom remain. While you can say in the language of nowadays science, it is a nanoparticle, you can say, but it is only the drug energy, isn't it? The drug energy which continuously goes on increasing while the quantity of the medicine goes on decreasing and quality increasing. It is a potentization. That means increase energy in every step. Therefore, Hahnemann's gift to the science in general and to medicine in particular. In medicine in particular, that means there is no requirement of large crude doses of medicine, while very small quantity of the medicine is enough. Therefore, in medicinal fraternity or medicinal science of medicine, every physician should think on the use of very little quantity of medicine, isn't it? Because very little quantity is enough to restore sick to heal, sick to health. Had it not been for his power of observation and his interpretation of those observations through rational explanation and his action upon those observations, he would never have achieved this eminence. Yes, this by this process of potentization, he can achieve the minimum dose, isn't it? And therefore, his application of the homeopathic medicine become more or more favorable for the sick, and every time it completely remove the disease rapidly, gently and permanently. It is only possible by the interpretation of observation through rational explanation, isn't it? And his action upon those observations, he would never have achieved his eminence if he not meditate on this observation and he perform the next step for the development of the homeopathy as a very scientific method of treatment. He would not achieve this eminence. Eminence means it is a fame, you can say. So if homeopathy would not be as successful for the treatment of the medicine if he not observe and interpret whatever he observed. When we consider the centuries of medical practice that preceded Hahnemann and the years of medical practice that preceded Hahnemann and the years of medical practice and scientific research that have followed, and comprehend somewhat the significance of his discovery of powers released through the minute division, we can but marvel at his keen logic and strive to follow his process of reasoning. Yes, it is a, you can say marvel means it is a very wonderful reason. When we think about the medical practice during the days of Dr. Hahnemann and after Dr. Hahnemann, there is somewhat change occur. There is a need of test the medicinal power on healthy human being, but in allied science they prove the medicine on lower animal, and this comprehend somewhat the significance of his discovery of powers released through the minute division, and this process of the potentization also give the very marvelous result, isn't it? And therefore it is only possible by his keen logic and strive to follow his process of reasoning. Thus we readily see and appreciate the aptitude of Stuart Close's description of homeopathy, when he described the foundations as solid concrete composed of the broken rock of hard facts united by the cement of the great natural principle, upon which the superstructure has been raised so soundly that it is inseparable from the foundation. Yes, for this development of the homeopathy through the inductive logic, the applicability of the homeopathy is very effective, and it is very positively, it is its success to provide a 100% cure and 100% health to the sick individual. Therefore, Stuart Close explain this or appreciate the homeopathic result, isn't it? And therefore the aptitude of this homeopathy, he assert accordingly that the solid concretes composed of broken rock of hard facts. Broken rock of hard facts means whatever is a hard facts, that is the natural laws, these are all collected together and united by the cement of a great natural principle. Yes, these all facts which he observed in his during his practice, isn't it? And he united by the great natural principle, and he studied all his observation by corresponding with the natural principle, and from which concrete foundation the superstructure of the homeopathy has been raised so soundly that it is inseparable from the foundation. Yes, the foundation of the homeopathy is formed by the natural law, that is a cardinal principle, isn't it? And these cardinal principles, these are all composed from the very different type of observation and experimentation done by Dr. Hahnemann, and whatever is the truth he take out from this experimentation with the correspondence of the natural law, and therefore the homeopathic practice is inseparable from the foundation. That means you can gain the cure only by the application of the medicine according to the principle of homeopathy, because these are inseparable. You can't separate the homeopathic medicine from the principle, homeopathic principle. Let us take the next paragraph. This shows the relation of facts to the practice of homeopathy with an outline of the reasoning, the process by which homeopathy was worked out and built up, and it is applicable in every concrete case which a homeopathic physician may call upon to treat. Yes, this principle you can apply for each and every case, and definitely these act. The principle involved are the same: the examination of the patient or the record of the proving. Yes, the applicability of the homeopathy, he explained that the whatever is the principle are there. First, the examination of the patient, which is similar to the record of the proving. The analysis and evaluation of symptom in each case, that means in case of patient and in case of provers. The selection of the remedy, all these are conducted under the rules and in orderly method based upon inductive reasoning. Yes, everything, that means the examination of the patient or record of the proving, the analysis and evaluation of the symptom in each case, and the selection of the remedy, it is a various step we have to apply whenever we try to treat our patient. All these are conducted under the rule and in orderly method based upon the inductive reasoning. Thus we determine what is characteristic in the patient and in the remedy. the characteristic symptom are always the generals of the patient. Generals, that is the mental general, physical general, which general symptom which represent the patient as a whole, isn't it? While depicting the general symptom, patient use the term I. Therefore, this general symptom is totally different from the particular symptom. While these characteristic symptoms are always, general symptoms are always the characteristic symptom, isn't it? While it is the symptom of that particular individual and which differentiate the patient or the individuality of the patient from another patient of the same disease. Therefore, you have to understand the characteristic symptom in the patient as well as in the remedy, because these generalize the patient, and generalized patient consider the patient as a whole. What is true of the one symptom may often be true of the whole patient, as illustrated by the action of thermic changes of individual part and symptom, and may be true of the whole man. Therefore, while we strive to form a picture of the totality of symptom, we must instinctively evaluate and find ourselves assembling symptoms as applying to the whole man or to his individual parts. In the case may be, as Stuart Close puts in his Genius of Homeopathy. Yes, in Genius of Homeopathy, there is the lecture Symptomatology. There is a evaluation of the symptom, how we have to proceed after the case taking, isn't it? Logic facilitates the comprehension of the related totality or picture of the symptom of the case as a whole. Yes, logic facilitates this logic, that is inductive logic, which facilitate the comprehension of the related totality. The comprehension means it is a including factor, including all elements, that is a mental general, physical general, particular, the totality, modality, sensation. You have to take the consideration of all these factors comprehensively, and then the totality of the symptom is made. It is not only the one or two symptom, while the comprehensive study of the whole case, and therefore or picture of the symptom in the case as a whole. This totality, which is the comprehensive picture which represent the patient as a whole. From all the parts, logic constructs the whole. It reveals the case in words. By generalizing, it assigns each detail to its proper place and gives concrete form to the case so that it may be grasped by the mind in its entirety. Yes, whatever is the fragments are you observed in whole case taking, you have to comprehend, and the comprehensive, you make a comprehensive, or give the comprehensive sense to that all symptom and make a totality of symptom. And whatever is from all parts, logic construct the whole. Whatever is the symptom we collect from the various organ or various system, but it is the still of a one person, and therefore according to the logic we collect the symptom and make a totality of the patient as a whole. It reveals the case. Yes, it is a which reveal the individuality of the particular case. In other words, by generalizing, it assigns, that means it allotted or give in each details to its proper place. Yes, we know the mental symptom of the patient, we know the personality of the person, we know how the action of the person in adverse situation, we know everything. We individualize the case, isn't it, and give concrete form to the case so that it may grasp by the mind in its entirety, and we know the person as a whole, patient as a whole, from this analysis and evaluation of the symptom and totality of the symptom. The true totality is more than the mere numerical totality or whole number of symptoms. It may even exclude some of the particular symptom if may cannot at the time be logically related to the case. Such symptoms are called accidental symptoms and are not allowed to influence the choice of the remedy. The totality is the concrete form which the symptoms take when they are logically related to each other and stand forth as an individuality, recognizable by anyone who is familiar with the symptomatic form and lineament of drug and disease. It is a lineament means it is a corresponding with the drug and disease. Yes, the basis of the homeopathic prescription is the totality of the symptom of the patient as viewed and interpreted from the standpoint of the prescriber. Yes, this is a totality of the symptom of the patient as viewed and interpreted from the standpoint of the prescriber. Yes, this totality is solely depending upon whatever is the interpretation made by the physician, and therefore the very important point is that the physician should be very skillful. It must have a knowledge or interpretation of the symptom. A successful prescription cannot be made from the standpoint of the diagnostician, a surgeon, nor the pathologist, such as because of the differing interpretation and classification of the symptom. Yes, the successful prescription we cannot made through the standpoint of diagnostician. Why diagnostician? The diagnosis of the disease is not helpful for the selection of the remedy at all, because the diagnosis of the disease is from the common symptom of the disease. It is not the symptom of the individual one, and we required strictly the characteristic symptom of the individual. The surgeon, surgeon, it is only concentrate on the pathology developed at the particular part or the system and not the pathology. Pathologist also, it is the nosological classification, and these are all not at all helpful for the selection of the remedy. As such, because of the differing interpretation and classification of the symptom, because they interpret the symptom according to their own way, a prescription only be made upon those symptoms which have their counterpart or similar in the materia medica. Therefore, the successful prescription is only made which we learn from the materia medica and select according to the symptom similarity, which have their counterpart means it is just similar, it is corresponding, it is the thing which similar in the another place or another time. That means you have to compare the natural disease with the artificial disease produced by the drug, isn't it? And therefore a prescription only be made upon those symptoms which have their counterpart or similar in the materia medica. Therefore you have, after case taking, after analysis and evaluation symptom, when you make the totality of the symptom which individualize your patient, you have to match this totality in the materia medica and select a exact similar medicine, isn't it? Here we finish the today's lecture. The another part of this lecture we will continue in next.